That's right.
It's not.
I'll send you an email with both links, tomorrow or something like that.
So
Last week's you don't have, I don't think.
exploratory. So instead of like being extra, it's more like art.
Thrilled to see so many people here today. We've got some housekeeping stuff to go over. Before we get to that, as luck would have it, have a couple jokes for you. Yeah, well, it is the season. How do you keep the UVA football team out of your front yard? You paint it to look like an end zone. All right,
Should have done a different team.
the UVA football coach's house got egged after the last game. And it's really unfortunate. It wasn't that bad though, because 2 of the eggs sailed over the house and hit the neighbor behind them. Couple hit the neighbor to the right, couple hit the neighbor to the left, and there were actually 4 eggs that looked like they were dropped as the person was attempting to throw them. So of course the suspect is the UVA quarterback. Yeah, I feel bad about that. I don't know if y'all watch college football? Anyone pay attention? Yeah, UVA lost yesterday to Richmond, who actually Richmond has a really good football team, but they're shouldn't be beating UVA when UVA's on their A game. But they did. So, all right, and that's enough about UVA football. It's a sad topic. I have the trophy. Now, let me see if I can. Yep, last year this was won by Evelyn and Shirley. As I look back, Paul Anderson's name is on this trophy. Also have, nope, not going to do it. So, anyway, this trophy goes back to 1972. Wow. Okay, pretty cool. Winners get to take this home, drink champagne out of it, whatever they want to do. Treat it like the Stanley Cup in hockey. Actually, oh my goodness. Fran and Shirley are on this. Did y'all realize that? Yeah.
No, it's Fran and
Fran and Fran.
Yeah.
Fran and Fran.
But we did not know about it.
Yes, but here your names are on this.
Now you know.
Carol Koppel is on this. Num 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 num. Jack and Elliot. Anyway, I digress. Yes, sir. Trophy is for the top pair today that finishes with the top pair with less than 20 master points that plays in the game today. I don't know what it was for way back in the day, because I see players on here that probably had more than 20 master points when they won it. So it could be a 0 to 50 game from back in the day. Not really sure. It's not a Friendly Bridge trophy. It's a Bridge Center game.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do all the winners' names appear on there from every year since?
Pretty much.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's got stuff up top and then all the 4 around here and now on bottom. So
Oh, there's plenty
yeah,
of
at some
room.
point we've got room. We're probably going to have to retire it in another 10 years, give or take. Maybe 20.
Is it just an annual thing? It's not twice?
Actually, it's twice a year. I think y'all won it in February, if I recall. All right. As y'all are aware, we are starting up again in 2 weeks. Okay. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Love to have a really good crowd. I've been getting a lot of emails from people, so I think we will have a good turnout. So 2 weeks from now, no bridge other than the lesson. Next week, we will have a lesson or a regular game. No idea what we're going to talk about. Okay, but I'll come up with something. I'll just have to learn something that isn't in the green book. Any questions before we go on to the top? Yes, sir.
Remind everybody that the same people that took it last
actually consider you all to be graduates of the program at this point. Don't have diplomas, don't have fancy mortarboard hats for you. But at this point, we consider you to be graduates. Doesn't mean that we don't want you to come back, because this is a friendly game. Okay? You get to come and you hear, for those of you who've been coming for a few years, do I know more than 20 jokes? Probably not, because I think you've heard most of my jokes before. But yeah.
If I have to suffer, you do too.
Yeah. Love to have y'all come back. Okay. And actually, if you want to raise your hand, then you can do that as well. Although I don't think y'all are at the point where you need to anymore. Okay. But sitting on the back row, you're going to be able to play until you eclipse 100 master points. And when that happens, we will invite you to play elsewhere. Okay? Speaking of playing elsewhere, a lot of y'all are playing in other games, right? Tuesday evening, Sunday afternoon. Actually had a brave pair come on Wednesday night, and where I think they were 2 of the 4 non-life masters in the room. And
Showed.
and yes, yeah, it's what it is. But got to play with nice people. Okay? So there are plenty of other games to play in other than Sunday night. That being said, love having y'all here on Sunday night. As y'all see, we're being videotaped. If you haven't watched the videotapes and missed some lessons, okay, they are on the richmondbridge.net website. Okay, we haven't edited them, so you get to do the same jokes and the housekeeping stuff. But you go 5 minutes in, maybe 8 minutes in, you'll get to the meat of the lesson, which we're about to get into unless there's housekeeping stuff. All right, everybody have one of these? I pass these out. This is the convention card that if you play everything in the green book, this is how you would fill out your convention card. Some of you play fancier stuff than what's on here, which is fine. Some of you don't play everything that's on here, which is fine as well. I'm not going to go into detail on specific conventions. I'm just going to give you a broad oversight of what the card is. When you are playing with somebody, the convention card is a list of your agreements. Okay? If you have filled it out properly and discussed it with your partner and agreed to it with your partner, you will know what certain conventions, which could have various meanings, mean. You and your partner will have agreements to when this happens, this is what it means. Now, up at the top right-hand corner, the most important thing you got are your names. I say the most important thing. I play with, in a given month, 3 or 4 different people, maybe 5 or 6. And with each of those, I have a different convention card. The fact that Govin and I play something extra special fancy doesn't mean that when Lanny and I play, that I'm going to play the same extra special fancy stuff with him. Basically, when I play with Lanny, I'm going to say, hey Lanny, what do you want to play? Fill out a card and we will play your card. Okay? So you may have different convention cards for different people. Okay, if you're fortunate enough to play with the same person every time, that's fine as well. But you and your partner, if you play every time, you really should know what's on this card. There shouldn't be that many sequences that come up you say, I didn't know that we played that. Because if you go through this process, there aren't many bidding sequences that will come up that can't be captured in here. Okay. Next thing is your general approach. Now we have taught standard American. okay, with 5 card majors. Okay, some people when they advance go on to different bidding systems. Okay, we've taught standard American. The only forcing opening we have is 2 clubs. If I open 2 clubs, I want to hear you bid again. Okay, if I open anything else, you are allowed to pass. So we check the 2 club box under forcing openings. Moving down, we have no trump opening bids. And I'm going to say something important. I had to print this in color, okay, because the colors mean stuff. If it's in black, it is a convention that is not alertable, it is not announceable, it is a pretty standard convention. If it's in blue, that indicates an announceable bid. Okay? If I open 1 no trump, my partner is supposed to announce to the opponents what our range is. Okay, so Govin and I are going to have a bidding sequence. I open 1 no trump, Govin says
15 to 17.
15 to 17, because that's our agreement. Okay, so if it's in blue, it indicates that it is an announceable bid. Pretty sure the only other announceable bids on here that y'all would play are transfer bids. So Govin and I are going to have a transfer bid sequence. 1 no trump.
15 to 17.
Okay. The next and you'll note that Govin says it in the same breath. So the opponents are aware of our range. Next person passes. Govin says
2 diamonds.
transfer. Okay, I'll say it pretty much in the same breath. That I'm announcing to the opponents that Govin's 2 diamond bid doesn't mean that he has diamonds. It's a transfer bid, which means that he has hearts. Everybody familiar with those sequences? Now, I'm going to say something else that's important. If you do not play transfers, then you and your partner should agree not to play transfers. Okay? It's not if you don't want to play transfers, that's fine. You are not compelled to play anything on this card. Okay? If you and your partner want to play open 4 card majors, that's fine. Okay? Just put your agreements on the card. Yes, sir.
Okay, what's the penalty, or is there a penalty for going that way, doing 4, but not telling somebody? Let's say you just accidentally did 4 instead of 5.
Well, it depends on the game that you're in. And by the way, in the Sunday night game, do y'all have convention cards filled out?
No. Yeah.
Okay. In a game that is sanctioned by the American Contract Bridge League, such as this one, both members of a partnership should have completed convention cards that are identical. Okay? It is not something that we emphasize on Sunday night. I'm not going to say it's because we just don't care. It's really because y'all don't play that many conventions. When you play in other games, such as the Wednesday night game, they may care. They may not. Did y'all have a convention card filled out, and did anybody care even a little bit? No. Okay. At some point, you will run into someone who does. Okay, and they will say, "Director, please."
And I hope I'm the director.
Yeah. Betty and Sue don't have convention cards. They're supposed to have convention cards, and they're making bids that I don't know what they mean. And that's really Govin and I are not allowed to have conventions, secrets from the opponents. Okay? And having a convention card filled out, the opponents can look at the convention card and figure out what our bids mean. On Sunday night, y'all don't play that many fancy conventions. Not as big of a deal. We're going over this because at some point you will play on days other than Sunday night. Now, how many of y'all play Sunday afternoon, Tuesday night? Is that a big... I mean, it's not... It's something you should do. Okay? It's kind of like saying, excuse me when you burp. Okay? It's just the right thing to do. You're playing in a game. You have a completed convention card. If you don't, the world will remain on its axis. Okay? So is there a penalty? I've never seen one enforced. That being said, it's still a good thing to do because if you and your partner go through the exercise of talking about what's on this card and figuring out what you play, it will help you. Okay? Let me give you an example. The auction's gone 1 spade, 2 hearts, 3 spades. Okay? There are a few different ways to play this. Okay? Or the auction's gone 1 diamond, 2 diamonds. Okay? It would be good to be comfortable that if I were playing with Lanny and I open 1 spade and the person on my left overcalled 2 hearts and Lanny jumped to 3 spades, there's really 3 ways we could play that bit. We could play it forcing, we could play it invitational, or we could play it weak. So if we haven't had this conversation, then I'm thinking, okay, well, Lanny either has 0 to 6 points, or 11 to 12 points, or an opening hand. In my bid, if I guess right, and I tend to be a pretty darn good guesser, okay, if I guess right, then good things happen, but if I guess wrong, bad things, silly auctions. We get to 6 spades doubled and redoubled. Down 3, which is like a big score. I don't even know what it is. Okay? So going through this card will give you the opportunity to talk about sequences such as this. Okay? By the way, and I gotta ask, how do y'all play this sequence? I open a spade, lefty overcalls 2 hearts, and Lanny jumps to 3 spades.
I would say invitational is what I
Okay. Invitational is a good meaning for that. I'd encourage you to play it as weak. Okay, I would encourage you to play Q-bid to be a limit raise. So the auction, 1 spade, 2 hearts, 3 hearts would be invitational plus, and jumping to 3 spades would be weak. But there's different ways to play it. And if you go through the exercise of filling out this card, you and your partner can agree. How do we play this? All right, going very quickly. Yes, sir.
How far can an opener of no trump fudge that before you take umbrage?
I have never taken umbrage at anybody's no trump open. You mean me personally?
The 15 to 17 rings, when they break that, like the 18 or 19, they're opening 1 no trump, and the partner says 15 to 17.
Personally, I love it when my opponents do that because it doesn't really hurt me at all. I will, if you're bidding contrary to your agreements, okay, first of all, I'm allowed to go contrary to my agreement. If I open a no trump and we're playing 15 to 17 and I have an 18 count, Govan's going to bid as though I've got 15 to 17 points. So if I've got 19, what that means is we may not make it to a game that we belong in. Okay. Does that make some sense? Okay. Now, when we have an agreement, Govan is going to assume that I am bidding according to our agreement. Okay. And you and your partner should play that he opened a no trump, he's got 15 to 17 points. He may have a really good 14 count with a 5-card suit and some 10s and 9s and decide to upgrade that to a 15 count. Probably shouldn't be downgrading from an 18 count, personally. Okay, but do I take umbrage? Director, how may I be of service? Betty, she opened a no trump. Partner announced 15 to 17 points, and Betty showed up with 19. Okay. Betty, you're 15 to 17, your agreement, you should be bidding 15 to 17. Did the partner act as though she may have more than that? No. Then there probably isn't any damage. You probably actually benefited from Betty's underbid. Does that make some sense? All right. If it's in red on this thing that is filled out in color, it is alertable. You do not, to my knowledge, play any alertable bids other than a relay to 3 clubs over 1 no trump. I'm thinking that most of you play that if the auction goes 1 no trump, pass, 2 spades by Govind, that 2 spades shows a long minor and a rotten hand. Okay, it is a relay to a minor. That is actually an alertable bid. So Gove and I are going to do that sequence. 1 no trump.
15 to 17.
Next person passes.
2 spades.
Alert. That's all I say. I say alert. If the opponents ask, then I'll tell them. Govind is showing a hand with a long minor and a weak hand. It is a relay to 3 clubs. Okay, and then the auction will go forward. Okay, and he says alert because there are lots of uses for a 2 spade bid, and because it's not overly common and there's lots of different usage, you just say alert. Partner's done something potentially extra special fancy. If you want to know what it is, ask me and I'll tell you what it is. Okay, you are allowed to ask when it's your turn to bid. Yes, ma'am?
Why is it not a transfer? Yeah.
Because there's a few different ways to play it. Okay, some people play it that 2 spades actually says I always have clubs. Some people play it as a long minor, could have either minor, and because there's different ways to play it, you just say alert. And the opponents, if they want to know, they'll ask. Okay?
Okay, Ed, say it again. Say 1 no trump.
Okay, 1 no trump, pass,
2 spades.
alert.
He says alert.
No, if my partner does something extra special fancy,
Okay.
I'm the one that says alert.
Okay.
Just like transfer.
Just like transfer, I do not get to alert my own bids.
Okay. So you
That
say
may tend to wake up my partner. Alert, doing something extra special fancy here. Pay attention.
and you say alert 3 clubs.
No, I say alert.
Okay.
And if this person wants to know before he bids, he'll ask.
Okay.
Okay, and if he asks, I'll tell him. Then if he passes, I'll bid 3 clubs and the auction will go on.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Now, if they wanted you to have diamonds, would they say then, would Govind say 3 diamonds?
He would, which is code for I've got diamonds and a lousy hand, your next bid is pass. Okay, that's our agreement.
Can only one of the opponents ask?
Anyone can ask when it's your turn to bid. If it's not my turn to bid, I don't get to ask because my question may benefit my partner and it's my partner's responsibility to ask if he's curious. Yes, sir.
I was going back to the 1 spade, 2 cards, or 2 spades. Where is that on the sheet? Is that the jump over call?
That is going to be simple overcall on the left side, on the far left column, second box down, responses. A jump raise is either forcing, invitational, or weak. And actually major suit openings under responses, major suit openings on the left, on the right-hand side. Okay, midway down, major suit openings. Expected minimum length 5 and first or second or third and fourth. Responses, the double raise is invitational. After an overcall, it's weak, is what's checked. Okay, and I will cube it to show a limit plus. Okay, if that's not what you play, change it. Because you and your partner should know what these sequences mean. Yes, ma'am?
What does it mean if it's one spade, 2 hearts, 2 spades?
Just a regular 1 spade, 2 spade bid.
But isn't that weak?
It's 6 to 10. This could actually be weaker than 6 to 10. I do this on a 4 count.
How would you indicate it if it's strong?
I would cube it.
This is change, you should choose.
1 spade, 2 hearts from. Yes, ma'am.
You're allowed to ask at the end of the auction, yes?
You are allowed, and yes, that's a good question. At the end of the auction, you are always allowed to ask the opponent to explain their auction. You do not need to ask if it's not going to affect your bidding if you don't care.
Eventually, maybe I'm the only person in the room, I don't understand how to score, how to write down.
I actually did a great lesson on this a couple of weeks ago.
I'll watch it.
And
Thank
it's
you.
on, probably online, maybe.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If you're weak and your partner bet a spade and your opponent bet 2 hearts, why wouldn't you just pass? What's the point in saying 3 spades?
Because I want to get in the opponent's way. It's what I do. I live to get in the opponent's way. I pay money to play bridge, and I say, you know what I really want to do? I want to irritate my opponents. I want to make their lives more difficult.
Do you think your partner appreciates you pushing it up to 3 spades when you have no help at all?
I don't know. Govin, do you appreciate it when I jump to 3 spades with rotten hands and good support? Yes. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do it without support. Okay, I'm going to have 4 spades in my hand. Okay? And yes, that would be a question better suited for Govin. All right, it is time to play bridge. I see y'all have cleverly arranged yourselves in groups of 4. We are playing, tonight's game is a club championship. Lots of extra master points.
We're a little bit out of practice.
Good luck, play well.
I used to talk about that.
Choose your section. It has, I don't know.
Hey, you. I don't know. Does my partner appreciate it when I jump around like a banshee?